Hello and welcome to another session of Lessons from My Mother. As I told you last week, today I will be interviewing my first friend who is not my mother or my brother and taking lessons from their own mother. So, this is my friend Jonathan Churampi. I call him Joe. We've been really close friends for the last 2 years. He's been my guide and my brother in Montreal, and we have many shared interests and we go on very long walks together, and now we've started climbing together and watch movies and all of that. And we have the same drive of succeeding in life and of making a big change. So we're very good friends. And Joe is a trumpeter. He was at McGill before this, and now he's producing his own stuff. And he's also heavily into crypto and this newfangled stuff. I'm not going to swear on my channel, which I don't understand. So today he's going to be talking about his own mother and some of the lessons that she's taught him, and then we'll discuss it a bit further. That's it for today. Joseph, Jonathan, lovely to see you.
Thank you, Ali, for having me. Thank you for the invitation. Such a kind words from you.
Yeah,
We've
obviously.
met, it's been quite fast time, 2 years.
Can you imagine it's been 2 years? Because I moved to Montreal in September 2020, and in October I moved to your place. Like we were room flatmates for the better part of 2021. That was 2 years ago.
2 years
2 years ago.
during pandemic.
During the pandemic, having nothing to do. Joe and I, Joe suggested this, I remember, because everything was closed in Montreal, and he would say, "Let's go on some long walks," and I'd say, "Okay, where?" And then he said, "We just go around Montreal because everything's closed." And we did. What was the longest one we did?
We did 42,342.
42,342 steps in what weather?
Minus 35.
Minus 35 weather. Yeah, we did that. So it was a lot of fun. Okay, Joe. I've given a bit of introduction about your music. I've told a bit about crypto. If you want to talk more about that, you can talk about that later. Tell me, what is your mother's name?
My mother's name is Miriam Trini Churampi Milka.
Wow, how wonderful. Tell me about your mom, and I know how much she means to you, obviously. So tell me a bit about her, and then maybe you can start sharing one of the lessons that you remember from her.
My mom was born in a small town called Mata Grande, from the mountains of Peru. So she's been raised traditionally on this. Met my father and came to the capital city. She had me when she was 21. A very hard working woman, extremely hard working woman. My mother means everything to me. She did everything she could to raise a good man, and she showed me with actions and examples what is it to be a good person. So I will always be in debt to my mother.
As we all are. When I requested you to be my first guest, I was like, Joe, because we talk about our moms all the time. That's why this series is here. And we share these things. Our mothers are tough, they are loving, and they've trained us to be these kind of men. So one of the things that we've discussed is about cleanliness, orderliness, organization. So why did you share one of the first lessons that you remember?
My mother always had the house clean. She's a housewife. Every day she cleaned it. So we have a small house, and it's around 3-4 floors, 3.5 with a terrace. Every day she cleaned. As soon as she woke up, she would clean, she would mop, she would make breakfast, and I would have her doing the dishes too. But every time it was a routine for her. And she will never be like, "Oh, let's leave it this for a moment." No, right away, get this done with. And I got off my country when I was 16 years old to go to Interlochen Art Academy and
In America.
To learn this. It took some time.
Yep.
I didn't learn this right away. Because when I went there, I had everything right. I had my food. I was not living on my own.
Mm.
But after 5, 6, 7 years of not being, not taking this lesson, I finally got it, and I was like, this is super important in my life. If I have everything clean, everything is much more fresh to do, easier to do. So until now I really do this.
I remember because I'm also a neat freak in every room except the kitchen. This guy, you remember this? So so he would say to me, "Why don't you do your dishes?" I said, "I'll do them later." And if you recall from a few weeks ago, one of my mother's central lessons was to do the dishes as soon as you put them and wash your hands. And this fella had the same critique of me, and I was like, "Oh, you sound just like my mother, Joe. Oh, what are you saying?" So your mother used to talk about starting with the dishes and the whole house.
Yeah, she's always like, everything has to be clean. Everything. She's down to the floor, down to the table, everything. Even a small thing, she will be she's a very detailed person.
Yep.
So everything has to be clean.
And that's what you do even today, right?
Well, I try to, of course, not as her level.
Of course, we can't reach their levels, but you keep trying to do it even
I try.
yourself.
I try my best.
Yeah.
To the best of my capability.
I do remember that. Also, one of the other things that we talked about when it came to your mum is her strength of character. She's a very strong person, and for those of us who don't know about Peru, it's not the most easiest of countries. And I was born in Pakistan, but I had the privilege of growing up in England. So I've seen only images of Pakistan where life is difficult. But Peru also, in Lima, the capital city, around Lima, it's difficult. Also, people still live in the mountains like your family does.
Of course.
Talk a bit about what she communicated about having that strength of character.
Well, living in a third world country, you have to work 3, 4 times more than what you should be, because to be able to feed your family, give education to your children, right? So most people in my country, I don't think just Peru, I think all in South America, they work really hard for this. And if you don't have, it's a must to have this mentality of being resilient, being strong, on the mind, because otherwise you have no other option. If you don't do that, then you don't eat. Then you don't have education, right? And my mother had a tough life, a very tough life. I'm not sure that.
No.
But even through all of that, her number one priority in her life was her family. She sacrificed so much, and she taught me to never give up when I want something. Don't give up. There will be good, bad times, but don't give up. She has always believed in me. She still believes in me, of course. And my mother is the love of my life.
Absolutely. Talk about, because I have become infinitely fitter compared to, let's say, 2 years ago because of you. I openly attribute that if Joe weren't in my life, I may not have started. I had been trying to run and be fit, but it wasn't consistent. And Joe was very instrumental in saying, "Hey man, try 10 minutes. Try this fast walking. Try this calisthenic whatever. Maybe change this in your diet." He was always doing those kinds of things. And you were able to do that because in a few years ago, you were also overweight.
I was overweight mainly because of my diet, but I have always done exercise. I would say it's like a mountain mentality. Because my father always told me, get up, move. If you're like this, people from the mountain eat so much.
Yeah, you told me. Oh, what's that big breakfast called? The potatoes and the cow's stomach and the chicken. The one.
Patasca.
Patasca. Oh. For the people who are not familiar with patasca, Pataska. CKA. Google it. Joe took me to a Peruvian place, and it was this big, and it was full, and we were tired. I was at least tired mid, and then it took me an hour, and then we had to go have coffee with a friend. I was just exhausted. I was like, oh my God. and it's delicious because they're always active in the mountains. But the point I was tying this to is the training your mother has given you about resilience and about getting up and doing things. It teaches you how to mobilize your brain. And you're like, I have to lose weight and get fit. I will do it. And you just did it. That's the thing I was talking about. Do you find that to be true as well?
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna talk about people from the mountains,
Yep.
they are constantly moving. They wake up at around 3, 4 a.m.
Wow.
They have hundreds of animals. They have to go because they eat, on the mountain.
Yep.
It's a lifestyle, right? And my dad has done it for, I think he did it for 18 years of his life, and then he went to the capital city.
Right.
My mother around the same. And it's a beautiful experience because when I was 8 years old, I went there. I went a couple of times before that, but I got to experience that, and it's not easy, because of altitude.
Yep. How high is it?
3.5, around that.
3 kilometers, 3,500 meters.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's high.
That's
very high.
It is very high.
Mm.
And you eat healthy, you eat big breakfast,
Yeah.
so you can move
Yep.
during the whole day.
Mm.
And I think it's also the reason why I wanted to help you, because I consider you as a friend, of
Yep.
course. And I have this, I like pushing my friends to be better. It's one of, it's one of actually.
No, I'm
one
grateful.
One of the lessons my mother also taught me this is because she told me, like, you will be who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And Ali, you are an amazing person. Back in that time, you didn't have a great diet. You didn't move as much.
Don't show them. This guy has been taking photographs of me for the last 2 years without me knowing, and he just sends them to you. You just sent me one today when I was coming. He says that this is what you used to look like. Now look at yourself, and I'm like, good Lord, what did I used to look like? Because it was pandemic. All right, it was pandemic. I had been sitting. Never, but yeah, that's true.
No, I'm proud of you. You're a hard-working man to do
Thank you,
this.
sir.
You changed your life. I'm happy you did this. Now, look at you, man. You are
Yeah,
incredible.
I feel great.
You run now every day for 1 hour.
Yeah.
I don't even do that.
I can't
It's
believe it.
incredible.
I can't
1
believe
hour.
I can't believe it. This is the third time I did it in the last 10 days.
I remember the first time that we went running together. It was maybe 10 minutes.
Yes, outside
And
the
even
house.
that was hard for you.
Yeah, outside the house, all the way to Sherbrooke, back up and down. I remember. Yeah, that was exhausting. Yeah, man. Steady progress. We were also talking about how both our mums have taught us the importance of responsibilities and duties. We don't do things just because we feel like it.
Of course.
We have a very important internet personality who we both admire, who says the same thing. You don't go to the gym when you feel like it.
Yeah.
You go to the gym because you have to. You go to work because you have to. You don't do it. Tell me a bit more about that, because my mom's always been about this. If you don't feel like going to school, you still go to school.
Well, at first, as being a little kid,
Yep.
you don't understand it.
No.
You think, oh, my parents hate me, blah, blah, blah. Including myself.
Yeah.
Of course. But throughout time, when you start being an adult, you have responsibilities.
Yeah.
So you think back, be like, what did my mother tell me? What did my father tell me, Because I was spending more time with my mother because my father was out there working.
Yeah.
So my mom told me always, responsibilities come first. Duties come first. Even if you are not feeling well, sick, tired, if you prolong that to later, it's going to be even more complicated to solve it.
Absolutely.
And it's important to be someone that is able to solve a problem, not add a problem. So I connected this and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try. Of course, I don't do this perfectly, but I try my best always to have my responsibilities first and duties.
Yep.
No matter what.
And to always solve problems, never to add to it. I think
And that goes with it, because if you're
Yeah.
doing this, then it will be much easier to solve something.
Absolutely, because if you're doing the tasks that you need to do, then the probability of a problem emerging reduces
Exactly.
tremendously.
Exactly.
and because you're solving your responsibilities properly, you're solving a lot of problems in that.
So like emotionally and logically, this is right. At least I think, in my opinion.
I agree, absolutely. So right before we go, because it's already 15 minutes, see, that just
wow.
flew by. So importance of keeping things clean, same as what my mum used to say all the time, cleanliness. So we both agree on that. Resilience, an important character trait. And I've known this fellow for 2 years, really well for 2 years. And you see it, it shines out of him how resilient he is, without trying to show off for him too much. I believe you could put him anywhere, and within a year or so, he will succeed. You could put him in a desert, within a year, he would have built something up in the desert. So that's another great skill. And finally, the importance of recognize your responsibilities and your duties and fulfilling them, which leads to problem solving rather than problem creation. I think these are three fantastic lessons, Joe. Obviously, because this is the first time you're my first guest who's not my mum or brother, so I wanted to keep it very short, like just 15 minutes, we chat a bit. But maybe next year I can have you on again and we'll discuss something more in more detail. Maybe you take one lesson and open it apart, as you know.
Maybe we can do one in Peru with my mother.
Oh, I'd love to do that. Oh, that would be so nice. Do you know, I could actually go to Peru with my current thing. Right before we go, is there anything you'd like to say to your mom, for your mom? Because you will share this video on Facebook with her too. So if she gets to see it, anything you'd like to say in Spanish?
Spanish or English?
I'm fine with either way. Whatever comes from the heart. So when I speak to my mom, I have to speak in my language, so she has to understand.
First of all, I would say thank you for the invitation again. I would say this to my mother in English and Spanish. Thank you for everything you have done. Thank you for sacrificing all that for me. I will always appreciate and I will always keep it in my mind. Gracias, madre, por todos tus esfuerzos, por el sacrificio que hiciste. Siempre lo recordaré.
Gracias, hermano. Yes.
Hermano.
Hermano. So the H is silent.
Yeah, it is silent. You did it right.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today and for welcoming my first guest. See you again next week with another lesson from my mother. And take it. Why are you laughing? That's